The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. Thanks for everybody joining in. Uh, it's started at 2 o'clock in Indian time, and uh, good afternoon to you all, and welcome to everybody who's joined in from somewhere else as well. This is one of my favorite topics and something which we ask a lot of people who tend to converse us regarding OKRs on how to make OKRs really work for you. Uh, they think that OKR goal setting is only 30% of the work done. That's as per us. But in reality, if you set OKRs and if you have to make it successful, you need to do check-ins and feedback properly. Otherwise, the system will just collapse in 6 months. OKRs will not be successful for you. Uh, Considering you have found value in OKRs for yourself, and want to make it more valuable in terms of how it helps you to reach your end objective and helps you to reach your mission, we're going to discuss about how the secret sauce check-ins feedback, that two elements and total three elements in secret sauce. We're going to discuss about two elements today: check-ins and feedback, and how they're going to be how they are actually helpful and useful for everybody there, right? If you have any questions, please start putting any questions when we reach topic number 4. I'll be happy to answer, or if you just can write any questions up there, I'll be happy to answer them as well, right? This is going to be a 30-minute workshop, a 30-minute webinar plus minus 5 minutes. Uh, and what I'm going to cover is introduction, uh, getting check-ins. So what to do when I say it's you have to do check-ins. So we're going to discuss that why check-ins are important, what are they, and how they're going to help you out. Then the next we're going to is to discuss that feedback. Now, whom to get feedback from, and if you're a manager or if you're a founder, and if you have to run these check-ins and feedback for your entire team, this is what you have to do. So 2, 3, 4 is my real agenda today. But just before we dive into that, I'm just going to discuss about what CFRs are, which we discussed in our previous webinar as well. So CFRs are the secret sauce to make sure that check-ins, so that uh, OKRs work for you. Now, what does CFRs means? C is conversations. So every week or every fortnight, uh, there are recommended check-in conversations. This can be done by you on yourself regarding your key results. The idea is that you have a check on what has been going on. Are your efforts aligned to help you reach your outcomes? The next is feedback, where you get monthly feedback from your team members. So essentially, whoever is working with you to reach to a certain key result and a certain outcome, what is their take on that? Recalibrate. So when you do your weekly conversations, when you take feedback from your team members, how you start or stop your OKRs based on priority, based on assessments there. So this is your CFRs, on which OKRs can be made successful. Today, we're going to talk exclusively about conversations and feedback. The advantages is that it helps you to refocus on the most important things, and there are some intrinsic motivations related to it. Intrinsic motivation in the sense, what is the cause I'm doing something? What is the main why we are heading towards something, these what are the basic reasons we are doing something. So these kind of motivations are required, apart from and most importantly, they work better than extrinsic motivations. For example, your compensation, your bonuses, and these have been extensively useful in terms of driving engagement for yourself, for yourself, and also across the board as well. Right now, the first important questions which we're going to answer is that check-ins, why and how. Right, that's the most important question which we need to focus on. So why we need check-ins? First of all, like, why there cannot be anything else which helps us to do. So first, which we have to understand is that it helps us to track progress proactively. So when you're following check-ins, it's primarily you are aware on what's going on a regular basis, right? It's just not that one fine morning you wake up and you realize that things are going wrong. It should not happen that, right? Or fine morning you should realize that uh, you're not going to reach your end outcome and your end goal, right? That's going to be very, very costly, and that can be fatal. I'm not saying that only the wrong thing is going to happen, but 70% of the time that happens, where if you're not aware of what's going on, or in numbers or in terms of outcomes, it's difficult that you might reach your end objective, or you might reach your end key result. So it helps you to proactive track progress on what we have to reach. Uh, Now there is also a certain change in behavior, in your own behavior, and also in terms of your team's behavior, in terms of accountability, in terms of thinking proactively, uh, and to make people understand and think that how they're going to reach a certain objective, how they're going to reach a certain key result, which is going to end uh, make sure that they have to reach their uh, objective as well. So if there is more of a weekly or a fortnight check-in which runs with your team, uh, there's a change in behavior in terms of accountability, how they think, how they plan their stuff out. They become more disciplined as part of it. They become more regular. It becomes more of a transparent process as well, right? uh, the third part is that it connects your actions to certain outcomes. Now, just to give you an example, I have an action uh, of making sure that I am evangelizing OKRs as much as possible. Uh, and I say that that in the next week I'm going to make sure that uh, I'm going to make 1,000 phone calls, and during the course of the week, I made 1,000 phone calls over the course of the week. But is that helping me to reach my end result of evangelizing OKRs? So my key result might be getting 10 CHROs of to get introduced OKRs, at least in their companies. Is those 1,000 phone calls, those actions are helping me reach my end outcome there, right? Is it helping me do that? Uh, so that's also important for me to understand. A lot of times we say we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to spend X hours, but are they helping us to understand that, hey, is it affecting my end outcome or my end key result there? So it's important for us to introspect it. It's on us to contemplate. That's what that's what now the next thing is that we all understand that we are all working very hard. We are placed in a fast-paced environment. We often overlook certain processes which are there, and that's one of the key challenges which teams face, is that, hey, do we have enough time to follow certain processes? I mean, that might be a best practice, all good about it. That might be the best thing, but do we have the time about it? Uh, Check-ins, yes, you can make time about it. I'll discuss in between how much time you need to spare. So it's a very lightweight habit which is there at place. So that's way in that way, if you're facing resistance from your team that, oh, it's a form filling exercise or any other activity which is taking a lot of their time, check-ins will not, right? So we'll discuss that how they can spend 15 minutes out of their time every week. I'm not even saying every month, or like I'm not saying that like 10 hours every month. I'm not saying that 15 to 20 minutes every week, every day. I'm just saying 15 minutes every week. How they should spend about it. And the most important part is correction in time. Now, in a previous webinar, we discussed that OKR is not task management. This is essentially that where do you want to reach, and it's defined by certain outcomes. These are the key results. Now, the key results stay fixed for a couple of uh, time, but uh, uh, but what happens is that uh, we're going to make sure that are my key results helping me to run to reach my end goal. Sorry, are my activities helping me to reach my end goal? That's important. So for example, if an activity is not working, as a task is not working, I can do course correction in time and reach my key result better, right? uh, right. Great. So what it's not, it's sorry, I'll just skip to the next part here. uh, how to do check-ins. Now that's important. Now, whenever I have to do certain check-ins, uh, what do I put in? That's important. So I add in some fulfillment. So for example, what did I fulfilled in the last week for a specific key result? I record my wins. So these are primarily measurable, which are there. So these are like targets which are there. So if I'm recording my target, if I'm doing certain things, I discuss the challenges which I faced. So in the last week, whatever key result which I'm supposed to achieve, or which I'm supposed to uh, reach towards, I have to discuss that whatever tasks which I did under it, what are the challenges which I faced and about it. Because I'm assuming that not everything is laid down for us. Like there's not a straight path towards it. We work on something, we see that it's working or not. We again tweak it. We again see the challenges, and then get down to that for the next week. uh, we note down a plan. So we make sure that we make a plan, we make a concrete plan for the next week, or for the next 2 weeks, to understand that, hey, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to achieve. And one of the things which you need to avoid is that you cannot have vague plans at all, right? You just cannot say that I'm going to send connection requests on LinkedIn. That's a very vague plan for the next week. uh, because when you do a next check-in again, from next to next week, so for example in week 2, you see that what I had planned in week 1 was just a send connection request. That doesn't make any sense. You cannot gauge that what challenges which you faced. You cannot gauge what fulfillment did you have, because when you were planning it at the first place, you did not decide to put up a very concrete plan at place. So you might even fail, or you might even put up a stretch plan, but at least put something there, right? uh, Cadence. Now this is the most important part. You need to do check-in. At least it's preferably when you're beginning to have a weekly check-in. Then you can shift to a fortnight check-in, which is a check-in every 2 weeks. But it's recommended that you move to a weekly check-in to begin with. And uh, every week you sit down with yourself, or for that matter your team members, which we'll discuss later as well, on how things have been going and how you're going to do it. And uh, when you complete check-in for a month, it's advisable that you do a light self-assessment, and you also do a recalibration, so you understand that, hey, these were the focus areas where I was able to put my time in. These were the things which I did not was able to put my time in. This might be because due to the challenges of which they're facing, or then realize that, hey, uh, this is not my focus area right now, and I might have to look at it a little later, and then I will be able to, then I can recalibrate it as well, right? uh, Another thing which is important here to understand, that you cannot have irregular cadences at all. You cannot make sure that you have irregular cadence. So for example, you did a check-in for a week or 2 weeks, but you have to make sure that you do it on a regular basis. You cannot make sure that you did a check-in for week one and you've decided that you're going to have a cadence every week. Then you cannot make that, that at least when you're beginning, uh, please make sure that you're sitting with yourself every week. It's not that you did week one check-in and then you skip it and you do week three, week four check-in, and then you again do week eight. You need to have that self-discipline into it, right? If not, get a shepherd. That's recommended. Get a shepherd for yourself. Help yourself, who suits it, who make sure that that every week they sit down with you and at least do a quick weekly check-in. Help you understand that, hey, what I need to do on this part, right? So we covered why check-ins are important at first, and uh, how to do check-ins second part, right? uh, Now we're going to understand in more detail that how we're going to conduct a check-in. As we said, our webinars will be very detail oriented. Then there is just not we leave at a certain gyan. So for example, you have these two focus areas. One is people management and one is process excellence, and these are your KRAs which you need to work out. These percentages along the height are defining the importance of these, or for that matter, the priorities of these kias among these objectives, right? So you have to ask yourself a question like, this is your OKR matrix, uh, where the height of each box correlates to the priority of the objective or the key result. So this is what the number is defining here. The first question which you need to ask yourself: which of the OKRs did you work on in this week? So you look into it and you say that, hey, Raj, what are the OKRs did I work on this week? There, right? Pretty fair, understood. I would suggest that you begin with an Excel while you do that, and you put up those KRs which you worked in the last week with certain green dots. So, for example, I worked towards hiring fulfillment. I worked towards average employee NPS score. I work towards data quality, and I work towards task management and reporting compliances. So these were the four key results which I primarily worked out of all my key results which were listed there. So that's the most important part in identification. Nothing hiding, no false sense of achievement, no sandbagging. This is what I need to do first, right? I'll just quickly repeat it. I ask myself every week, is that which of the OKRs did you work on this in this week, and I highlight them here, right? Now, the question which I need to ask for each OKR to be which is identified here. So, for example, hiring fulfillment was one of those. Is that uh, I'm going to ask a fulfillment, like, for example, do I have any number which so for example, did you achieve anything quantifiable? So for example, if I have a number there, it doesn't matter if it's a lagging metric or something else. So I'll ask myself that, do you have any do you have any quantifiable number here? So probably in the beginning of the month, where you're doing this exercise for the first time, the first couple of weeks, you might not have a number. It's okay. You can avoid putting in it. What we're going to discuss here in detail is that we're going to discuss that what are the wins I had. Like, for example, did I achieve anything significantly? What are the challenges which I faced? So, what couldn't I accomplish and why? So, we need to discuss this as part of the region as well. And what key things do I plan uh, to do next week? And this has to be concrete. So even if you do not put in the fulfillment, that is the quantifiable number in front of every key result, you need to understand that what are the wins, that what did you achieve anything significant, you put in any challenge, or what you couldn't accomplish. So for example, you might have planned something which you couldn't accomplish, or uh, something which is causing a hindrance. You can write that. Or if you couldn't accomplish what you had planned, you also give a reason why. uh, and also you put up a very concrete plan for next week as well, right? uh, Now I just going to give you some example there. So this is a good check-in which is to be done. So for example, if I have a key result which is called number of false positive cases reduced, under an objective called reduce customer complaint, I said that the fulfillment which I had is what was one experiment which I completed. I write down a challenge that there was nothing in reduction in false positive cases compared to an earlier model which I did. So this is very concrete which I'm writing here, and also I'm defining a plan for my next week. Right, I'm saying that I want to conduct one more retraining experiment. So at least whenever I'm sitting the next week, I can see that, hey, this is what I planned in the previous week. Did this happen or not? If this does not happen, what's the challenge I faced? Did I not find time to do it? Or I did it, but this is what the challenge I faced, right? So whatever weekly activities or whatever uh, tasks which you plan to do, you can write it down here in the plan section, but just make sure that is concrete. That's why I've highlighted the number one here, which is important. So this is a very ideal check-in which is to be done, right? uh, Something which is a little vague here. So for example, hiring fulfillment is one of my key results where I have to meet a target of 100%. I have put in something a very vague as post as open. The plan is a LinkedIn, angel list, agencies. But this does not make sense, right? So I have to put up a concrete plan that I'm going to make a post each on these profiles. I'm going to make sure uh, that I'm going to reach 100 out candidates in these specific platforms, and I'm going to make sure that 100% completion of planned activities regarding of LinkedIn angel list or these different agencies. I have to put in something, because the next thing is that, for example, this was my plan, right? LinkedIn plus angel list plus agencies. Next week when I sit for a check-in, I look back into it and say that, hey, what was my plan? LinkedIn angel list plus agencies. What did I do? Oh, I just posted something on LinkedIn, right? How does it make sense? Did I put up 5 posts, or did I approach somebody on LinkedIn? Did I do that? So did I have quantifiable effort? It does not make any sense there. So right. So make sure that whenever you're putting some plans, it has to be some concrete, and it's for the next week. Or the next 2 weeks at least. But I think when you're beginning with check-ins, make sure it's for the next week there, right? Okay. Uh, Another good check-ins example is there, right? So here, if you've seen that, I've put in a hiring fulfillment. So one of the number of users across platforms, I have a target of 12,000 across December. So I say that, hey, this is my fourth week in the check-in. I say, 5021 is the number I put in. I'm going pretty smoothly in October. I say that a signed agreement with a new customer. I have to follow up with all the three partners in integration pipeline the next week. I've also put up a challenge there, is that could not do much because issues with the Delta camera alpha phase. So that's a thing which I need to also address as part of it. So I've tried to put in, I've tried to write in my challenges as well, so that if it's cross-functional, in most cases, key results are, I'm going to take up with that team as well, discuss that, hey, this is what the challenge which which we're facing, it's regarding tech, and that's because it's also affecting my end key result as well, right? uh, Something like this as well. So we get a lot of questions on how tech people can really handle check-ins. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, you have to quantify things. So as simple as that, we want to have a bug-free product release. The target is 100% by October 2019, and suppose I'm in August, I've already done 30% of it. My fulfillment was that completed bug fixes. So if I list of bugs in my which were raised in my customer portal, I proactively want to make sure that those bugs are not repeated. Bugs are like set up at first, but they should not be repeated again. So what I do it is that I plan to set up a calendar for root cat analysis for better frequency of bug checking. I do that. So for example, I decide that every Wednesday I'm going to do root cause analysis on why the bug came up, and I also make sure that, for example, there are 100 bugs there, 30 bugs are already been done. My idea is that I should complete the next 20 bugs of them, so fix 20% of the list is there. So this is something which is very solid and very concrete, right? uh, Please make sure that whatever plans which you put in, again, I'm putting it again and again, you put up a quantifiable number for that, so that you make sure that whenever you're doing something next week, you have a number to look after, right? uh, Now, these check-ins, it's advised to do every week. So You can do it on a Friday evening, you can do it on Saturday morning or a Saturday evening, and it should not take more than 15 minutes for you. So the prerequisite is that you have your OKR set, and every 15 minute and every week for 15 minutes you just do a weekly contemplation. Now a lot of people might argue that they have Jira, they have other task management applications and tools, and they do it here. Now again, coming back to it, if you have not attended the first one, or if you can have a look at the reference in our first webinar, OKR is not task management. It's essentially a goal management. How are you going to reach your end goal, right? And this is where you sit back, you take a zoom out of your uh, of your task list or activity list, and understand that hey, are my outputs uh, impacting my outcomes, that are my key results, and are helping me to reach my end objective or not, right? So we might be all our week be focused on a very specific thing. This helps us to zoom out and see that hey, is this impacting my key result? If not, how I'm going to make sure it's going to be done. Otherwise, it will be like everybody's working, you are working tireless, 24/7, but nothing is happening. So you need to define those certain things, right? You need to define that how certain actions are going to are making sure that you're reaching your end key result. So 15 minutes, I think everybody can give it. It's not a very big ask every week, right? I would say that you should do a weekly check-in every day for 10 minutes within your team, just to see that everybody is aligned to the common objective. If there are cross-functional teams, but if that becomes too much hectic, at least do it on a weekly basis, right? Okay. Uh, Now we're going to understand the next important thing here is that feedbacks, why and how. So why feedback is important, how you're going to get feedback from somebody, and how it's going to help you reach your end objective to reach as well. So by the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to write it in the section there. So how are we going to address a feedback and why feedbacks are important at the first? So whenever we talk about feedbacks, it always helps us to address some barriers which are facing. So I'm assuming that you've already know that we're going to take feedback from our colleagues. We're going to address some of the barriers which we're facing internally as a team to achieve our key results. So that's important. So it helps you to address your barriers. It helps you to get an input from your team members. So whenever uh, you are getting a feedback regarding your key results, always try to get it from the team members who are working with you on certain key results, right? And trust me, it's going to open a Pandora's box. So not only it will help you understand on what they have a take on the key result which you two are trying to achieve, but it also help you understand on how they think that this can be done differently, or how they think that there can be a different approach, or how they think that there is a barrier to it, or how they think there's a challenge to it, right? Because uh, as fast moving companies, we all need to be in sync, right? So for example, I'm VP of sales. I need to make sure that I have 30 OKR workshops by end of this of 2 weeks. This is connected to my one of my seniors team members of sales, and I get a feedback from them, and they say that hey, this is not going to happen because this is a holiday season going on. The VPs of other companies are busy in their holiday season. They're not opening their LinkedIn, and this is not working, right? So I need to have or take from their side to probably readjust my plans to achieve my key result. So that's important, right? You also like whenever you're getting feedback, you also like get what action items you will do regarding your task. You have an idea about that as well, right? So just to focus on it before I move to the next slide, it has to be asked from your team members. You can do it once a month, probably at the end. That is after your 4 weeks of check-ins, where you ask the team members you've been working on some on the key results, that I need your feedback, and how to make sure that it's a concrete feedback. It's just not subjective open-ended feedback which is there, right? So you have a feedback format. So for example, you ask them questions on, hey, what do you think can be done better, right? uh, what do you think, what are the challenges which we are facing, and how do you think we can plan this out in a better way to achieve. Send it out to them, ask them these questions, and once they've given the feedback, uh, it will be a lot helpful for you, it will a lot more clarifying for you, than how you can achieve your certain key results with your entire team, right? uh, Now, running check-ins for your team. So my assumption is that if you are a self-starter, if you are a founder or a VP, you've been running the check-ins for yourself, and checking the feedback for yourself every week. How to make sure that you also run it for your team, right? First is that please make sure it's a weekly conversation. So that's the first important part of a successful cadence. It's a weekly conversation, and make sure that everybody is not spending more than 15 minutes of it, right? So you put up this as a plan that, hey, every week we're going to have a weekly conversation. First you can do a self check-in for 15 minutes, not more than that, right? The and you're going to have certain key results defined. You're going to have those check-ins on these questions like what were the wins, what were the challenge, what were the plans, fulfillment as well, if they're running in the third and the fourth week of the check-in, and if they have to put up a significant number there. And initially you have to act as a shepherd there. So everybody talks about Google, right? Everybody talks about Google and how they implemented check-ins, OKRs very very successfully. But just not that, Larry Page and Sergey Brin just decided one day that they will have their OKRs set, and it started working for them. So for the product managers and for so they became shepherds for their VP team, where they used to check in with them every week. Those VPs became shepherds for their respective product managers, where the VPs ran the check-in every week with those managers there, and subsequently these managers, ran this check-in for their entire team, right? So it's important that managers play a very vital role here as a shepherd. So you become shepherd for your managers, and the managers become shepherd for their team, so that at least post when people post those self check-ins, people are speaking with their managers, the managers can talk to their team members on the challenges they face there. uh, it's important that you focus on those key results. So you make sure that you are focusing on those key results. So for example, your team members have put in some key results. If they have put in any challenges which they're facing, you discuss that, hey, I've saw that you're facing these challenges, this is how we can do better. I see that this is the plan which you have put in. Make sure that we can do this better in the plan, or we can make sure this is doing better. So you can, as an overall team, you can decide as a shepherd that, hey, uh, let's like every Saturday I'm going to send you a mail. What you're going to do is that you're going to sit down and you're going to do a weekly check-in for 15 minutes, and after that on a Monday early morning, we're going to discuss on your check-ins, we're going to discuss on your challenges, we're going to discuss on your fulfillments, or we're going to discuss on your plans, or how we can do this better, right? Something like this we can do. So I would suggest that you can have a weekly check-in. The cadence can be weekly, every Monday, every Tuesday, whatever time suits you. You can set it up for your team, and if you're running it on Excel, or you can run it on any kind of tool, you have kind of a data where are people putting in more challenges, putting in more wins. Because as a manager as well, you also need to have this kind of data on where are my teams facing a lot of roadblocks, are my teams facing specific challenges, and how do we address them. Because managers play a very crucial role here. They're just not there to make sure that things are happening, but they also make they are the bearer of your cultures. And also the fact is that uh, a lot of people look up to them, in terms of how a certain work has to be done and how a certain work has to be completed, especially if you are a young fast moving company. It's important that you have those facts there. So managers, you need to have a keep of a check on what are the win challenges plan which you're facing. At max, uh, you can spend a maximum of 15-20 minutes when you're doing a team check-in, right? It should not take much more time than probably 30 minutes. Please restrict on that, otherwise it will just become endless meetings which are there. Self check-in as a discipline should be not more than 15 minutes, right? And this is what we can dedicate, I think, 15 minutes of weekly contemplation. I think that we can dedicate there. uh, any questions which we have? I think we have reached the end conclusion on how we can make sure that I'm going to send you the recordings. I couldn't send the recording for the last time there, but if you have any questions on how we can run the check-ins for your team, or how you can run the check-ins in a specific format for your team members, you can please quickly write in here. I'll just quickly revise on what we did right now. I think I still have 5 minutes and the luxury of doing that. So we began with that, how to make sure that your OKRs work and last beyond 6 months. And the primary thing to work it is the help of check-ins and feedbacks. That's how you make sure that your OKRs work for you. Uh, how does check-ins and feedbacks primarily work is, check-ins work because they are proactive. There's a change in behavior among your team members where they actively lay down some plans to make sure that they are doing activities or tasks which are related to direct outcomes, right? And it's a lightweight habit. That's the most important part, where it just takes 15 minutes every week to do a quick weekly check-in to reflect your past week's works, and also helps you to plan the next week's work as well. It has to be a weekly activity to begin with. uh, Please make sure that it happens every week. There are certain brackets in which you can put in your check-in, which we will discuss. For example, uh, the brackets can be your wins, challenges, and plans. So, for example, what significant thing I achieved last week? What are the challenges which I have in the what challenges which I face in working towards those, and what are the plans which I have for the next week? Make sure that your plans are very concrete. So, I've explained it here. You make sure that your plans, like for example, I need to send 1,000 connection requests on LinkedIn next week, or I need to publish 2 webinars next week, or I need to make sure that my marketing material is 100% up and they're running. The reason is that because when you sit for a next check-in, the next week too after that, you need to have something relevant for the from the past week to look into it, right? Why this is important, why you need to do check-in, is that, for example, it also helps you to understand that if you couldn't focus on a key result which you listed during your OKR, like defining your OKRs, you need to understand that why you could not, give your time to something. Was there any firefighting issue? Was there I couldn't give time, or rather that it's not important right now? So it will also help you redefine your OKRs after a month as well, right? So make sure that you're doing the check-ins every week, or to begin with. Uh, Most important part along with the check-in is feedback. Again, feedback is a Pandora's box. It addresses barriers. You need to ask feedback from your team members who are exclusively working with you on certain key results. It's not that you ask a feedback from all the people who are working with you. To begin with, you ask them on the key results, whom on which they've been working with you. You ask them what are the challenges they think they have faced, how they think that something can be achieved better, and can they help them to, and can they also help to lay down a plan as well, right? So you make constructive feedback questionnaire, you send out to them at the end of every month. This helps you to define your OKRs, check-ins more fruitfully at the end as well, right? uh, Post this, we discussed that how you can run check-ins for your entire team. Make sure that you are doing check-ins on a regular basis. uh, for example uh, you can have weekly conversations around it. You can do 15 minutes of check-ins. So that's recommended. Only do 15 minutes of check-ins every week. You do weekly conversations. uh, Act as shepherds there. Focus on key results which are required. So if the check-ins have been working for you well, you act as shepherd for your entire team and have those weekly conversations there as well. uh, so for example, you schedule the check-ins in a certain way. So for example, every week I'm going to have a conversation with my team members on this specific day, right? And have a mapped uh, uh, you know part to it as well, right? So what are services which we provide? We help. Going to I can send you a weekly check-in template first, and how also a feedback template also, on how you can get feedback from your team members. The services which we provide is that we not only help you to recalibrate your OKRs, but we also help you to make sure that if you want a shepherding program for yourself, or for your certain senior team members, so that it gets into your DNA, and then you can implement the shepherding program for your entire team on your own. We can do that for you as well. So we can run a very affordable but a very effective 3-month shepherding program for you. If you're looking for a product where you have reached a stage that OKRs are working for you, uh, but you have a large team and you need to make sure the check-ins and everything is working for you, we can also talk about the product as well, about it. So do send me in if you have any questions, because I might have because I do have certain questions which were listed during the registration process. I plan to compile it and send it out to you, as well as the recording as well. uh, so yeah. uh, Thanks for it. Thanks for your time. Glad you could all enjoy it. Thanks a lot.